After the initial installation, loading, watching the intro movie, and upping the graphics quality to maximum, I proceeded to choose the proper anniversary server. My first character would be on a normal server instead of PvP, as I'd like to get my bearings again without having to worry about getting ganked by high-level players from the opposing faction. Speaking of which, I went with the Horde for the faction, as it's the one I spent the most time playing back in the day. I generally like the idea of stereotypically monstrous fantasy races being heroes in their own right. I decided to play as a race and class I had never tried before that was solo-friendly based on discourse I had read online, and thus Heenaheifer, the Tauren druid, was created.
Once a nomadic people, the Tauren roamed the endless plains of the Barrens, hunting the mighty Kodo. Scattered across the land, the wandering tribes were united only by their common hatred for their sworn enemy, the marauding Centaur. Seeking aid against the Centaur, the great chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof befriended the savage orcs who had recently journeyed to Kalimdor. With the orcs' help, Cairn and his tribe were able to drive back the Centaur and claim the grasslands of Mulgore for their own. Upon the windswept mesa of Thunder Bluff, Cairn built a refuge for his people. Over time, the scattered tribes united under a single banner. Though the noble Tauren are peaceful in nature, the rites of the Great Hunt are venerated as the heart of their spiritual culture. As a tribesman of Mulgore, you must test your skills in the wild and prove yourself in the Great Hunt.
Once I entered the world and gained control of my character, I got right to work, beginning all available level 1 starter quests in Camp Narash. I had forgotten how much I liked the VA work for the Tauren, with voices ranging from a bit gruff yet approachable to very soothing.
Greetings. What brings you here?
Looking for something special? How may I aid you? Hail.
I quickly reached level 2 by slaying some Planestriders for the first quest. After checking in on Great Mother Hawkwind and reporting back to the camp, I obtained my first buffing spell, Mark of the Wild. This allowed me to perform one of my favorite non-combat actions in an MMO, buffing random players. I can already see why Druid is regarded as a solo-friendly class, as you deal decent damage while still being able to buff and heal yourself and others. You might not be as good in those roles as more specialized classes, but your jack-of-all-trades toolkit allows you to be more adaptable. I then trekked to Red Cloud Mesa and met with Seer Greytongue, which earned me another level up in the process. Greytongue tasked me with performing the rites of the Earth Mother, starting with the Rite of Strength. I was to head to Brambleblade Ravine and slay bristlebacks, presenting their looted belts to Chief Hawkwind in Camp Narash as proof. I took a brief detour to slay some mountain cougars while I was there to fulfill another starter quest, and used my Hearthstone to fast travel back to the camp. It turned out to be fortuitous timing, as a passing undead priest was making the rounds, buffing players with power word Fortitude. The next branch of quests in camp all directed me to the same general area in Brambleblade Ravine, so I set out heading east in that direction. The area leading to the ravine was populated by battle boars, the first actively hostile mob I would have to deal with. Despite getting in a few 2v1 situations, I prevailed without breaking too much of a sweat, collecting enough battle boar snouts and flanks to fulfill a quest objective and reaching level 4. The ravine itself was filled with bristleback quill boars and shamans, which dropped money and gear as loot rather than hide and meat. My backpack quickly reached its carrying capacity, prompting me to trek all the way back to the camp on foot to sell my loot as my Hearthstone was still on cooldown. I resolved to be more discerning with my Hearthstone use from here on out, though I did take the opportunity to learn a few more abilities from the trainer while I was there. After returning to the ravine, I proceeded to make my way northeast, slaying bristlebacks along the way. It turned out that it led straight to Chief Sharptusk Thornmantle's camp, an NPC I needed to kill and bring his head back to Camp Narash. As I began the fight, I received a group invite from another Tauren player, as it turned out that they had the same quest. I accepted, and we proceeded to collect one head each from Sharp Tusk's corpse after the battle. We proceeded to kill a few more enemies, giving me just enough XP to reach level 5 in the process, before they wished me well and parted ways. I accidentally replied with a whisper instead of using party chat. Perhaps Heenaheifer is more shy and reserved than I initially thought. I decided to check out the ravine a bit more, at least until I had to go on another vendor run. It turned out to be a good idea, as I found a map guarded by 2 bristlebacks that indicated an impending attack on Camp Narash. I hoofed it back to the camp and turned in the requisite quests, including warning Chief Hawkwind about the attack. My next task was to travel to Bloodhoof Village and meet with Chief Blaine Bloodhoof in order to continue my rites of the Earth Mother. Sensing that this would essentially conclude the starter content here, I decided to call it a day. I sat Heenaheifer down on a small grassy knoll and treated herself to a snack of a shiny red apple washed down with a draught of refreshing spring water as we took in the view of the camp and the slowly brightening sky heralding the dawn of a new day before logging out. Not a bad showing at all for my first hour and 15 minutes of play.